In the ongoing conflict, Ukraine has consistently demonstrated a remarkable capacity for adaptation, yet it has also shown a strategic discipline in adhering to successful tactics. A cornerstone of its current operational doctrine involves targeting Russia's vital oil infrastructure. This strategy has already seen immense quantities of Russia's most valuable commodity consumed by fire, a direct consequence of Ukrainian assaults on refineries, storage depots, pumping stations, and any other facility linked to the Russian oil industry. The recent events underscore this persistent approach, with Ukraine once again striking at a critical and perhaps unexpectedly vulnerable point: Russia's Caspian Sea oil rigs. On January 11th, United 24 media reported a significant development. Ukrainian Special Operations Forces, SOF, executed a precision drone strike that impacted not one, but three of Russia's offshore oil drilling platforms in the Caspian Sea. These platforms, which might have been considered beyond the reach of Ukrainian aggression by the Kremlin at the outset of the invasion, sustained direct hits. While United 24 media noted that the precise extent of the damage remained unclear, and NASA's firm's monitoring system, used for tracking fires via satellite imagery, did not immediately detect blazes, this does not diminish the strategic impact. It suggests that the strikes were aimed at the structural integrity of the platforms, rather than directly at oil or gas reserves, implying a sophisticated targeting strategy designed to disrupt operations rather than merely ignite fuel. The platforms targeted were identified as Filanovsky, Valery Grafer, and Yuri Korchagin. Confirmation of these strikes came from the General Staff of the Ukrainian military, who, via telegram, declared, as part of measures to reduce the military and economic potential of the aggressor, units of the Defense Forces of Ukraine struck three drilling platforms of Lukoil Corporation in the waters of the Caspian Sea, namely the V. Filanovsky, Yuri Korchagin, and Valery Grafer platforms. These facilities are used to support the Russian occupation army. While the General Staff's statement did not explicitly name the SOF, United 24 media attributed their involvement to a statement released by the SOF on the same day. Regardless of the specific unit, it is evident that an operation of this complexity, targeting assets nearly 1,000 kilometers from the front lines, would necessitate the involvement of highly specialized forces. Euromaidan Press highlighted the immense logistical and operational challenges, noting that these platforms are situated at least 950 kilometers, approximately 590 miles, from the active war zones. Such a deep strike requires drones with exceptional range and potentially the ability to navigate through contested or even occupied airspace, a testament to Ukraine's evolving long-range strike capabilities. This recent attack is not an isolated incident, but part of a broader, escalating campaign. United 24 media indicates that this strike, targeting infrastructure operated by Russia's Lukoil energy giant, marks the second confirmed drone attack on Russia's Caspian Sea infrastructure. The first occurred just weeks prior, reported on December 31, 2025, by United 24 media, where Ukraine's security service, SBU, claimed multiple direct hits on another Russian oil platform, also seemingly with aerial drones. Visual evidence, including videos and photographs, appeared to corroborate these claims, with the special Kherson Cat X account suggesting the Valery Grafer platform was also a target in that earlier strike. While only two attacks are officially confirmed, Euromaidan Press suggests that the January 11th strike represents the fifth such operation in approximately a month, indicating a concerted and sustained effort that began around December 11th. This campaign, which appears to have evolved into a full-blown Caspian-focused offensive, initially targeted the Filanovsky platform, reportedly halting extraction from over 20 wells. Subsequent strikes hit the same platform again, as well as the Yuri Korchagin and Valery Grafer platforms. Ukraine's repeated targeting of these three specific platforms sends an unequivocal message to Moscow. The oil drilling behemoths, once considered secure in the Caspian Sea, are anything but. The persistent nature of these attacks suggests that Russia currently lacks an effective countermeasure against drones that appear to have established consistent and clear pathways to these critical energy assets, which play a significant role in funding Russia's war efforts. The Caspian Sea strikes were not a singular event, but part of a coordinated series of attacks on January 11th, further emphasizing Ukraine's growing reliance on and proficiency with deep strike drones. The General Staff's Telegram post, alongside reporting on the Caspian Sea incidents, also detailed a fire strike against a launcher of a Buk M3 anti-aircraft missile system in the area of the village of Baranichev, temporarily occupied territory of Luhansk Oblast. This medium-range air defense system, designed to engage aerodynamic targets, reportedly sustained hits and explosions. This detail is particularly pertinent when considering the feasibility of the Caspian Sea strikes. If Ukraine is indeed deploying long-range drones, they would likely need to traverse portions of Russian territory to reach the Caspian, as sending them through Georgian or Azerbaijani airspace would risk international incidents. The question then arises, why are Russia's air defenses failing to intercept these drones? The destruction of a Buk M3 system around the same time as the Caspian attacks offers a potential explanation. Russia's air defense capabilities have been severely degraded throughout the conflict. According to Ukraine's Ministry of Finance, Russia has lost 1,270 anti-aircraft warfare units, with the recently destroyed Buk M3 adding to this staggering tally. This scale of attrition has created significant gaps in Russia's air defense coverage. A November 2025 article in the New Voice of Ukraine highlighted this vulnerability, stating that the majority of Russia's air defenses are concentrated around Moscow or the front lines, leaving vast swaths of the country's immense territory inadequately protected. Andriy Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, noted that most Russians in the country are not protected by Putin at all, even though he constantly promised security to everyone. He further added that Russia is facing shortages of key air defense systems, including S-300s, S-400s, and Pantsir systems. This strategic weakness allows Ukraine to exploit these vulnerabilities, sending drones deep into Russian territory, provided they can navigate the heavily defended front lines and occupied regions where Russia's primary air defense assets are deployed. While it remains speculative, the simultaneous targeting of a Buk M3 and the Caspian oil platforms could indicate a deliberate strategy to further degrade Russian air defenses, thereby facilitating future deep strikes. Alternatively, as suggested by the December 31st attack on a Caspian Sea platform, Ukraine might be deploying drones from vessels, allowing them to bypass extensive air defense networks. A video shared by the SOF on X, offering a brief glimpse into their operations, shows drone views as they home in on oil platform targets, though it does not definitively clarify the launch method. Ultimately, the method of delivery is secondary to the outcome. The drones successfully hit their targets, once again demonstrating the extreme vulnerability of Russia's Caspian Sea oil platforms. Beyond the Caspian Sea, Ukraine simultaneously conducted a seemingly unrelated strike against Russian forces in the Kherson region, targeting a logistics depot used by Russia's 49th Combined Arms Army near Novotroitsk. This highlights Ukraine's broader strategy of systematically dismantling Russia's logistical capabilities across all operational theaters, not just its oil interests. By chipping away at Russia's ability to supply its frontline troops, Ukraine aims to cripple its assault capacity. However, the focus returns to the 3 oil platforms in the Caspian Sea, targeted for several compelling reasons. These platforms represent a significant source of revenue for Putin's war chest. The Filanovsky oil field, home to one of the targeted platforms, is among Russia's largest in the Caspian Sea, with estimated oil reserves of approximately 129 million tons and potentially 30 billion cubic meters of gas. Converting these figures, 129 million tons of oil equates to roughly 838 million barrels. Even considering Russia's discounted oil sales, reported at $34.52 per barrel in December by the Moscow Times, this single field could generate over $28.9 billion. The gas reserves, though harder to quantify precisely, could add an estimated $7.7 billion, based on Bloomberg's April 2024 figures of 257 per $1,000 cubic meters to China. These are not insignificant sums, representing substantial funding for the ongoing conflict. The Yuri Korchagin field, another target, holds an estimated 77.8 million tons of oil and 1.2 billion cubic meters of gas, translating to over $17.5 billion in oil and $308 million in gas. The Valery Grafer field contributes further, with recoverable reserves of 19.2 million tons, approximately 21.16 million tons, of oil and 33 billion cubic meters of gas, adding another $4.3 billion in oil and $8.4 billion in gas. Cumulatively, these platforms represent tens of billions of dollars in potential revenue that Ukraine is actively seeking to deny Russia. Ukraine's objective is not necessarily to permanently destroy these vast oil and gas reserves, which would be an almost impossible task. Instead, its strategy is to cause constant disruption to the facilities that Russia uses to extract these multi-billion-dollar Caspian reserves. Every delay in operations, every platform taken offline, directly impacts Russia's ability to access and sell its oil and gas. In a war of attrition where financial resources are as critical as soldiers and equipment, every strike that diminishes Putin's war chest is a strategically valuable endeavor for Ukraine. In a broader geopolitical context, Ukraine's Caspian Sea strikes serve another crucial purpose. They challenge Russia's perceived dominance in the region. Russia has historically cultivated a strong presence in the Caspian Sea, recognizing the strategic importance of its energy resources, particularly in the context of European energy security. The Jamestown Foundation highlighted in 2024 how Russia, despite viewing Caspian resources as secondary to its Arctic and Siberian deposits, understands the leverage its position in the Caspian provides. Russian policymakers are acutely aware of the potential for Caspian region countries to become significant energy suppliers to the European Union, thereby strengthening their ties with Moscow's adversaries. Control over Caspian oil and gas translates into potential control over Europe's energy needs, a dependency Russia seeks to maintain. To this end, Russia has actively worked to isolate the Caspian Sea region from Europe, seeking cooperation from the Caspian Five: Iran, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Russia, to achieve this. While the 2018 Convention on the Legal Status of the Caspian Sea aimed to resolve disputes among these nations, Russia has sought to leverage this cooperative framework against European interests. Reports from the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists in November 2024 suggested that Russia's efforts were yielding results, with Moscow reportedly gaining control over significant portions of Kazakhstan's crude oil, thereby limiting Western companies' access. This effectively forced Western entities still operating in the region to align with Russian interests. However, Ukraine's actions are beginning to shift this dynamic. Strikes against Russia's oil interests in the Caspian Sea could draw Ukraine closer to its European partners, who have supported it since the invasion began. This creates a symbiotic relationship. Ukraine benefits from continued military and financial support, while European countries gain a potential foothold in the Caspian Sea as Russia's influence wanes. Indeed, Russia's grip on the region appears to be loosening. Even before Ukraine's Caspian campaign, the Maritime Executive reported that Russia's influence in the region was diminishing. The Caspian Sea is not only a source of oil and gas, but also a critical transport route for weapons. Shipments of Iranian missiles, drones, and ammunition have reportedly entered Russia via the Caspian Sea, including a notable consignment of 220 Fatah 360 ballistic missiles. Ukraine's attacks can thus be interpreted as a warning, demonstrating its capability to strike beyond oil platforms, potentially threatening Russian warships and shadow fleet vessels, which it has successfully targeted elsewhere. This raises questions for Putin regarding the security of his naval assets in the Caspian Sea, given Ukraine's demonstrated operational reach and intent to inflict maximum damage on Russian interests. Furthermore, Russia's relationship with Kazakhstan, a key member of the Caspian Five, shows signs of strain. At the June 2024 St. Petersburg Economic Forum, Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev publicly defied Putin, refusing to acknowledge Russia's annexation of Donetsk and Luhansk and rejecting a Russian request for Kazakh soldiers to fight in Ukraine. He also committed to respecting Western sanctions against Russian oil. Such a bold stance, especially delivered alongside Putin, underscores a growing assertiveness among some Caspian nations. Ukraine's Caspian Sea strikes, therefore, represent a long-term strategic play. In the immediate term, they aim to disrupt oil production and cut off funding for the Kremlin. But beyond that, they are designed to erode Russia's influence in the Caspian region at a time when Western engagement appears to be increasing. Kazakhstan's refusal to be beholden to Putin's dictates could inspire other members of the Caspian Five to reevaluate Russia's perceived power. Should this occur, Putin's nightmare scenario, the expansion of Western influence into the Caspian Sea, could become a reality. Even Iran, a nation Putin might have considered a steadfast ally, faces its own internal challenges, potentially driving its leadership closer to Moscow, but also creating new vulnerabilities. The evolving situation in the Caspian Sea thus represents a critical and increasingly contested front in the broader geopolitical struggle. The strategic significance of these attacks extends beyond immediate financial and logistical disruption. By demonstrating the vulnerability of assets deep within what Russia considered its secure hinterland, Ukraine is challenging the very perception of Russian military invincibility and territorial integrity. This psychological warfare aspect is crucial. When a nation's critical infrastructure, far from the conventional front lines, can be repeatedly struck with apparent impunity. It erodes public confidence and forces a reallocation of already strained defense resources. Russia is compelled to divert air defense systems and personnel from other areas, potentially weakening its defenses elsewhere, including along the active front lines or around key strategic locations. This creates a dilemma for Russian military planners: protect distant high-value economic targets or bolster defenses closer to the conflict zone. The current gaps in Russian air defense coverage, as highlighted by the destruction of the Buk M3 system and the concentration of defenses around Moscow, are being ruthlessly exploited by Ukraine. This forces Russia into a reactive posture, constantly scrambling to cover newly exposed vulnerabilities rather than dictating the terms of engagement. The long-term implications of this strategy are profound. It not only impacts Russia's immediate warfighting capabilities by reducing its revenue streams and forcing defensive redeployments, but also undermines its geopolitical standing and its ability to project power. The message being sent is clear: no part of Russia is entirely safe from Ukrainian retaliation, and the cost of aggression will continue to mount, both economically and strategically. This sustained pressure on Russia's economic lifelines, combined with the erosion of its military prestige, is a key component of Ukraine's broader strategy to achieve victory and restore its territorial sovereignty. The resilience and ingenuity displayed by Ukraine in developing and deploying these long-range strike capabilities are reshaping modern warfare, demonstrating that a smaller, more agile force can effectively challenge a larger, more conventional adversary by targeting its critical vulnerabilities with precision and persistence. The geopolitical ramifications of Ukraine's sustained campaign against Russian energy infrastructure in the Caspian Sea are far-reaching, extending beyond the immediate theater of conflict to influence regional power dynamics and international relations. Russia has long viewed the Caspian Sea as its exclusive sphere of influence, a strategic buffer zone crucial for its energy exports and military projection. The repeated Ukrainian strikes, however, are systematically dismantling this perception of unchallenged dominance. By demonstrating its capability to project power into this historically secure region, Ukraine is not only inflicting economic damage, but also subtly altering the geopolitical calculus for the other Caspian littoral states: Iran, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan. These nations, traditionally navigating a delicate balance between Russian influence and their own national interests, are now witnessing a tangible erosion of Moscow's security guarantees. The brazenness and effectiveness of Ukraine's drone attacks serve as a stark reminder that even Russia's most protected assets are vulnerable, potentially encouraging these states to reevaluate their strategic alignments and seek alternative security partnerships or economic collaborations. The public defiance of Kazakhstan's President Tokayev, for instance, is a clear indicator of this shifting landscape. His refusal to endorse Russia's territorial annexations and his commitment to upholding Western sanctions against Russian oil signal a growing willingness among some regional actors to assert greater independence from Moscow's dictates. This burgeoning assertiveness could pave the way for increased Western engagement in the Caspian region, a scenario that would represent a significant strategic setback for Russia. For years, Moscow has actively sought to prevent European nations from diversifying their energy supplies by accessing Caspian resources, aiming to maintain Europe's reliance on Russian hydrocarbons. Ukraine's actions, by disrupting Russian extraction and demonstrating Moscow's inability to fully secure its energy assets, inadvertently create opportunities for European countries to forge new energy partnerships in the region, thereby diminishing Russia's energy leverage. This complex interplay of military action, economic pressure, and shifting alliances underscores the multifaceted nature of the conflict. Ukraine's strategy is not merely about destroying infrastructure, it is about reshaping the geopolitical chessboard, challenging Russia's regional hegemony, and ultimately weakening its capacity to wage war and exert influence on the global stage. The long-term consequences of these developments could fundamentally alter the energy security landscape of Europe and the strategic balance of power in Central Asia, marking a new chapter in the post-Soviet geopolitical order.